Hi, welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Market. I'm your host, Nathan Hale, and you guessed it, I'm joined once again by my co-host, Trent Richardson.
Hey, how's it going, Hale? We doing all right this week?
Doing pretty well, actually. It's funny, we took that pseudo hiatus about a month back, pre-recorded a few shows, that sort of thing, and in hindsight, I'm kicking myself because, we never really have gone into detail on what a staple is, and to how you might be able to check out ahead of time when you know a set, we're returning to a set such as this return to Zendikar.
Mm-hmm.
There's an opportunity there to spec into staples. And when I mean staples that are based around a theme, such as landfall in Zendikar Rising. Now, there's different kinds of staples. You got your format staples. Sol Ring doesn't care if you're in landfall or if you're in, mono green stompy, you want to run a Sol Ring. Right. So that's a kind of card that just is universally a staple of the format. But then you have cards that are staples to themes, such as landfall, working really well with any number of cards like cards that will allow you extra land drops, or even something as simple as a cultivate, which of course is both format and theme staple.
But more like Evolving Wilds.
Yeah. Whereas an Evolving Wilds may not make the cut in your normal 2-3 color deck because you may have the duels to not really need it. In a landfall deck, it becomes a boon to have that.
Sure.
So we're going to kind of discuss here first some of those staples, and apologize for the missed opportunity. We should have covered this pre-Zendikar. We should have covered this a month or so back. I thought of it, but then we got sidetracked with other things we had to do, and we had to do some pre-recording, and I apologize for that. Yeah. But I wanted to just start this off with the discussion of what is an EDH staple, and that's not an easy thing to answer, because we posted last week something. There was a lot of argument about what a staple was, and I appreciated all the back and forth banter that we had in the comments section on Facebook regarding what an EDH staple is, and it got me thinking about it, in particular with one card in specific that's coming out in Zendikar Rising. I think it may be one of the most, if not the most expensive uncommons currently in Zendikar Rising, and that's Ruin Crab. And Ruin Crab, I don't even remember the particulars of it. Outside of, it's a landfall trigger on an 03 body.
For a single blue.
Yeah, and essentially whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent mills 3 cards. And a lot of people are screaming new staple for EDH. And I kind of beg to differ. Like, they're speccing into it. I'm like, this may be spec worthy in standard, Pioneer, Modern. I don't know. That's certainly a possibility. Although I did kind of dig into it a little. And unless standard really makes mill work, there's not a ton of mill decks in Modern, for example, that are viable. Except for a few. But, as we're going to get into, they're not concerned about milling the opponent. They're concerned more about milling themselves. Which brings us to Hedron Crab, who's another form of staple in EDH. And when I say a form of staple, he's once again not a staple in the form that you might think like Sol Ring. It just doesn't go in every deck. But it's a staple to a theme, right? Like if you want to self-mill, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right? If you're playing a Lazav or a Sidisi or something like that, where you're just trying to get cards into the library or the graveyard, it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's also good in a mill deck too, where Ruin Crab will also be good in a mill deck, but again, it's not good in a self-mill deck. If you're going to play like a Thassa's Oracle or something, Ruin Crab just isn't going to do it for you. If you're going to be playing like a dredge deck, Ruin Crab's not going to do it for you. But Hedron Crab is fantastic in like a Sultai or even 4-color dredge deck. It would be a staple there,
Yeah.
So, like we saw some comments and people saying, well, all staples are good cards, but not all good cards are staples. Kind of,
It's mostly true.
For that.
Basic lands are staples, yet at the same time, you could argue, are they good or not? I suppose they don't intertap, which is a boon, right?
Yeah, but you could also argue that they're maybe the best cards because you have to have them to play the game.
Well,
So,
if you have enough duels and the like, I guess you could get around it. But
well, sure, but I mean, yeah. So it is kind of an interesting argument, so to speak, and for our purposes, and we're speculating on things. For instance, between Hedron Crab and Ruin Crab, everybody's kind of speculating in the community. Well, Ruin Crab it's a 0-3 for one, and not a 0-2 like Hedron Crab
and it hits all your opponents, not just one target opponent.
Yeah, but it's very narrow, right? It only goes in the one deck.
Only going to go in the mill. It's not going to go in a self mill or mill.
Yeah, it's not going to be a $3 or $4 uncommon because it doesn't have the flexibility that Hedron Crab has.
Yeah, barring mill becoming suddenly big in formats outside of EDH. But in EDH, like for example, Hedron Crab is only run in about 3,300 decks on EDH Rec. That is a small number, 3,300. And of those decks, less than 1,000 are actually trying to mill the opponent. Most of them are trying to mill themselves using this card. So mill traditionally in EDH has been very niche. And they're trying to expand on that, just like they're trying to expand on the viability of burn in EDH. So it's not to say that down the road, mill may not become more and more viable. They're giving us new tools with every set for mill and EDH. But that means at best, though, these cards are going to be staples only thematically, only in that theme. Whereas some other cards, like the aforementioned Soul Ring or Cultivate. Cultivate's great in a landfall deck. It's great in not landfall deck. It's great in every deck that runs green pretty much and has basic lands. That's like a format staple. And before we go into these cards, I wanted to delineate the difference between the types of staples. And these first ones we're going to talk about, the first 5, I believe, are more so format staples than they are theme staples. Mm-hmm. Though they often fall into specific themes because they go from good to great in those said themes. And this first one is, these first 5 are going to, 4 of the first 5 are going to primarily focus around a new mechanic or a returning mechanic in Zendikar Rising, Landfall. And these are staples not only to landfall themed decks, but also to the format of EDH, which is why those are on. And then the following ones, I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 after that. And we'll let you know when we get to those. They're less format staples and more theme staples, which again are going to coincide with themes in Zendikar Rising. So let's get underway. What do you say, Trent?
Yeah, sure. So the first up here, we got a hot tamale, Mr. Dino Sword Wayward Tooth himself.
Oh, big old buck-toothed wayward dinosaur.
So for 2 and a green, he's a 5/5 with Ascend, which everybody knows. 10 or more permanents in play, you get Ascend for the rest of the game. You can play an additional land on each of your turns, and it can't attack or block unless you have the City's Blessing, which you get from Ascend.
Yeah, and that second line of text is really the one you're most interested in, the ability to play additional lands. Ramping is probably the strongest thing you can do in EDH, followed by card draw. And this lets you get natural ramp by dropping lands in. Of course, that ramp also coincides with landfall triggers, so it's a win-win. So tell them a little bit about...
This card is played... I mean, I play it in my Urok... oh my gosh.
The Desecrated? The Defecated?
Yes. Urok... I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Yarok the Defecated.
Yarok, yes.
Desecrated,
Yarok,
actually, but...
I also play it in my... oh my god, I am drawing a blank here. The Grave Muldrotha deck. Because my Muldrotha is a lands-based deck, and it will be played in Ashaya. With the new Ashaya coming out, it will be played in the new. What's the other green one? The ancient
Timber Warden. He's not a mythic though, or he's not a legendary though. Obviously, Omnath.
Omnath, be great in Omnath. Which, by the way, Omnath is the obvious top commander coming out of Zendikar right now. It's the top, money getting card at this moment.
No way.
Surprise! Yeah.
So, Wayward Swordtooth, though. This card already is seen play in nearly 15,000 decks on EDH Rec, which is a fair number. The MTG Goldfish market price is $12.72, but the mid price is $12.08. That's a good sign. Market is actually over the mid. Now, Card Kingdom has 8 in stock right now at $14.99.
Right.
Star City Games is sold out at $13.99. Channel Fireball does have 8 in stock at $13.99. And then TCG has a little more than 100 copies available with, I'm sorry, I take that back. About, this was, no, that is right. About 100 copies available with a few bulk copies available close to $12. Most of them are over that mark. And there's about 60 copies on eBay but only 7 are under $12. And in total across all these major online sellers, there is less than 300 copies available. And this card, I feel, is really poised to explode in price. It's gone up $4 since March. And Zendikar Rising Landfall will make EDH demand for this card really soar, I feel.
Sure.
Also, it's we've talked about this before. It's Rivals of Ixalan. That is a notoriously under-opened set. Which means there's a lot less supply of it out there than a lot of other sets. And buying now from buying boxes of Rivals of Ixalan are going to run you $140, $150, $160 at least. So getting these cards, this being the only printing, means it's definitely going to keep on the trend it's been going on, which is a steady upward ascent. And I'll be honest, I would not be surprised if within year's end, 6 months, we see this card break $20 if we don't see a reprint of it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's been heading that way for quite some time now, even before this year started. This card busted on the scene at like $3 or something like that. It wasn't seeing a whole lot of play in Standard. Didn't see much play in Modern. It didn't see any play in Pioneer. It was definitely a casual EDH card for sure. But over the last 2 years or so, we've seen a steady increase in this card. And I mean, $4 just since March is what a 35% increase over a 5-month period. I mean, that's pretty huge. So yeah, we could certainly see another 25% hike on this in the next couple, or probably less amount of time. So by the end of the year, $20 is not
unheard of.
Unheard of, or I could definitely see that happening for sure.
Yeah, and there's not a large number available either. Under $12, even if you're just picking up the singles individually, and that was between all these different places. I think there may have been 4 copies in bulk available on TCG under $12. So this is definitely, like, when you're watching this video Monday, if it's there still, if the opportunity is still there, pick them up. And just a quick disclaimer, I like to usually add this at the beginning, but I forgot. We're casual. We're not financial advisors for you. This is for entertainment purposes. So keep that in mind when we talk about these specs and the like. But also, if you're interested in our process, always reach out to us. We talked about it a little last time. Our process is becoming refined, and it's a constantly changing thing. But we're trying to get it down to more of a science and less of an art. And I think we're starting to get there. So if you're curious about how we approach that, reach out to us.
Or even further than that, if you midweek before a video comes out, or got a paycheck and you want to buy some stuff, reach out to us and ask us what our picks are for that day. I mean, because they do change over the course of a week. So from today we're recording to next Wednesday when we record again. We'll start tomorrow, start looking at stuff. Stuff will happen over the weekend. We'll be like, yes, this is going to be sweet. By Monday, we're like, oh no, this is terrible. And then Tuesday, we're like, oh snap, we should have been on this instead, and then Wednesday it changes again to something else. So you can certainly reach out to us and find out what, if we have anything we're going to plan on talking about on the following week, or if we have something that day that's pretty hot. So we're more than happy to help you guys for sure.
So speaking of cards that are hot, here is a staple that I bought a few into a while back and just didn't buy enough because at the time I think I had like 10 or 12 EDH decks. So I was like, I've got plenty. Now I have over 30 EDH decks. I no longer have enough for all my decks. And I've been putting off buying more. And that limit ends this week. Swan Song. Yes, it just got a reprint in the Bird's Secret Lair, which I don't think that has gone out yet to consumers. However, there are copies for sale, pre-order, if you will, singles of Swan Song, the card I'm talking about here. And basing off those prices and how the market has shifted from that, it saw a little dip, about 50 cent to $1 dip on the announcement of the reprint, because it was just shooting for the sky. This card was. To give you an example, it was just over $9 mid before the reprint in Secret Lairs in June, having jumped $3 in just under 2 months. Currently, and the reprint doesn't appear to have done much to the value. As I said, there's a lot of pre-orders for people who ordered them and they're expecting to flip it. And looking at the prices they put, it doesn't seem to have really affected the overall market price on Swan Song.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, well, I keep wondering how many of these are really being bought. At first, I thought these things are going to really flood the market. And then I started thinking, they're coming out with so much product this year and the pandemic. I don't know how many of these are really being purchased. I bought a bunch early on with the beginning of the year, but I haven't bought since.
Yeah, I haven't bought any of them, honestly. I'm not a big fan and never have been. A lesson I learned from my grandmother, she was a big baseball card collector. And, in baseball cards, exactly what's happening in Magic right now happened in the 90s with baseball cards.
Yeah.
They put out so much product. Now, of course, this was multiple companies getting in and flooding the market with a bunch of different rando stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of crushed it, then. But even back then, they would come out with these limited release sets that had one of every rookie card from the current year or whatever. And she told me early on when I started playing Pokemon, she was like, if they ever start doing this stuff, don't worry about it. It's junk. It won't be worth anything. Don't do it. So I kind of lived by that advice even through Magic, and she might have been wrong. But either way, I'm still sticking to my guns, and anything that is only special isn't special,
Well, in this case, the special thing about this card is what it does. It's an instant for a blue, counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Its controller puts a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Whoop-de, you just stop their Cyclonic Rift. Very, very good card. And now the specific version I'm talking about today is the Theros copy. It's seen 2 other printings. The one from the Secret Lair and Commander 2016, I believe, was the other printing. As I said, it's played in over 54,000 decks on EDH. And the MTG Goldfish market price today is $8.73 with a mid of $8.07. Again, a nice spread between the market and the mid. Means the demand's higher. Card Kingdom is sold out, totally sold out at $10.99. Star City Games had theirs at $7.99 and is out of stock on all versions of the card.
Wow.
Channel Fireball does have 8 in stock at $7.99, which I found interesting. Now, TCG Bulk has them as low as $7, but not many. Not many at all. And eBay, there's just 6 copies only under $7. This card, I do expect that it's going to continue right picking. In fact, if you look at the market price of what it's been doing, it had that little dip with the announcement of the Secret Lair reprint, and then it's already starting to make its upward trajectory again. And I expect it to continue doing that, because if I had to have just one slot for a counterspell in a deck that's not mono blue, it would, even if it is mono blue, it still probably would be this card.
Yeah.
There are not many instances when I'm like, damn, I lost the game because I couldn't counter that creature. Artifact, maybe. But being able to hit an enchantment, an instant or sorcery, generally means for a single blue, I am stopping their combo or I'm stopping their board wipe. Very, very effective spell.
Yeah, and it's not too much of a giveaway either when you're holding one blue mana up in a you haven't countered a spell the entire game. Nobody's looking at you to be holding a swan song, you know. You kind of a mana tide got 'em situation, except just so much better
than mana tide. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty good with this card, and I'm actually honestly surprised by the number of decks it's played in. 54,000, you said. I mean, that's insane.
It's one of the most played counter spells, like hands down, just because its versatility, its price point. Because you could say like, why? Well, you know, what about Force of Will? You could run Force of Will or Pact of Negation. Yeah, you could, but you're also looking to pay a lot more money to put that card slotted into a deck, and sometimes they're not what you really want or need. Because Force of Will, when you don't have a blue card to pitch, is a bad counter spell.
Is it real bad?
A Pact of Negation when you've only got one blue mana source on the board is a real feel bad. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop it, but then I'm dead.
Oops.
So yeah, Swan Song, very, very good card.
Yeah.
I expect to see this card continually go. In fact, I think the only thing that's kept its price this low so far is that Theros had a large supply overall.
Sure.
When it was printed, I've noticed that with Theros cards in general.
Yeah, you can still buy Theros at $3.99 a pack anywhere. I mean, there's so many places that just have so much Theros product, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
and that's really all that stifled the value of this card from being, you know, a $20+ card. You know, to be in a Flusterstorm or similar.
Sure. Yeah. So next one we got here is Romanap Excavator, the Naga Cleric. Naga. 2/3 for 2 and a green. You can play a land from your graveyard.
Every turn. So
every
good.
Turn. That's
so
sweet.
Good.
It's a Crucible of Worlds on a stick, you know? It's fantastic. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a little bit easier to deal with than a Crucible of Worlds, but even
often easier to get back.
And
often easier to tutor up.
Yep, exactly. So from Hour of Devastation, which again is another set that is climbing in sealed box prices because of the what do they call them in that?
The invocations.
Invocations.
Well, not only that, it was also under opened. So now if you want to open them, you're going to be paying more because the invocations, which means we have a smaller supply out there than we would have otherwise, like Rivals in the smaller opening regard.
Exactly. Even though everybody hated on those, which I wasn't a fan of that Hour and Amonkhet invocations. Just it was hard to read them.
I'm in the very rare boat that absolutely love them. They're my favorite. They are my favorite, even over the masterpieces. I love them. I've always loved the Egyptian theme. I thought the border treatment was awesome. I did have two grievances with it. While I thought the text was neat looking, you're right. It was really freaking hard to read.
Yeah.
And then the secondary issue, although for me that was really small because I've played with textless, borderless cards forever, and there's nothing to read on those, and I know what they do, you know?
Yeah.
So to me, it was the look. My biggest issue was the foiling. It was really dark, and that bugged me. I wish they'd made them not foil, or honestly, I wish they'd made them and just the border frame had gold etching, like treatments. I thought that would have looked fantastic rather than actually foiling. Kind of similar-esque to what you were seeing in Zendikar between the signed art cards and the expeditions, like a merging of those two things into one, and then remove the foiling. It would probably be my favorite Magic cards ever, at least look wise.
Yeah, for sure. So back to Ruminant Excavator. It's played in over 23,000 decks. And so we've got NTG Goldfish has the market at $8.46 with the mid at $8.70. So pretty right on there.
Yeah.
It's okay. Card Kingdom, $8.99, but only 2 near mint copies available. Star City Games, $7.99, out of stock on all versions. Channel Fireball seems to be the best place you can buy them right now. $6.99, 7 in stock. TCG bulk as low as $7.50, but not many available. eBay only 1 under $8 and 13 total copies available on eBay.
Yep.
So overall, less than 250 copies available across all the major online sellers. Now, that says a couple of things to me. One, Channel Fireball is winning right now with their "you box it, we buy it" promotion, because if they're able to sell this card at $6.99 and still have 7 in stock, they are giving you nothing for this right now.
Yeah.
So let's just go and buy them from CFB right now, because
now if you get them, the one thing from CFB when you buy it from them, because CFB I noticed does have several prices lower than their competitors right now, but you're going to be paying about $4 in shipping. So you need to be buying in bulk, or you need to be getting a lot of stuff from them to offset that cost, or else it's, if you're buying 4 copies of this at $6.99, you're really paying $7.99 in the end.
Sure.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. So back in June, I noticed this card was at just about $5 at the mid. And over the last, 3 months, we've seen $1 per month increase. So just like many other cards on this list, picking it up with the initial reveal of Return to Zendikar would have been, probably the best option. If you weren't able to pick them up, even still, if you buy them from Card Kingdom at $8.99 or, CFB for $7.99, let's say, with your shipping, $7-8 for this card is pretty good, considering where Crucible of Worlds is right now, up in the atmosphere at about $35 to $40 a piece.
And Crucible's had a lot more printings than Ruminant Excavator.
Yep,
which has only had one.
Had one printing. So we're going to see this card climb and keep climbing until we do see a inevitable reprint in a Commander product. We might very well see it in Commander Legends. I would not be surprised if we do. So maybe it's a good idea to maybe hold off on getting this card until Commander Legends is revealed.
It won't be long now, a couple of weeks.
Which won't be long. So a couple more weeks, sit on it. You might see another $1 increase, but even if it is only $1 and it's not in Commander Legends, this card is going to skyrocket. I'm talking $15-16 easy if it's not in there by the end of the year.
Yeah, I do easily personally see, $10 is kind of like an OBV by the end of the year, and $12 by the end of the year is definitely not out of the question. It's really good in the ability to start replaying. Essentially, this lets you play some of the best lands in Magic over and over. Your fetches, your new Horizon lands from new Modern Horizons, newish, repeatedly, and that's a card draw engine.
And a new kind of land.
Yeah, actually. It lets you play. Now, specifically with the new lands, with the modal dual face cards, and somebody comment below if I'm incorrect on this, but as far as I'm aware, the play from the graveyard will only allow you to play the land side after that land has gone to the yard. You couldn't use the spell side.
Right.
Because it doesn't give you permission to play sorceries from the graveyard, just lands.
Sure.
Whereas, interestingly enough, Muldrotha can take a dual face modal card that, say, has a creature on one side and a land on the other, and you can choose which you're playing it as. Your land from Muldrotha or your creature from Muldrotha. So just a little caveat of how the rules interaction on that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is going to be the one to watch. I wouldn't pull the trigger on Monday. I'd wait probably a couple more weeks till we see some spoilers come out for Commander Legends and go from there. But yeah, you can get these under $10. But if it's not spoiled with Commander Legends, I'd say you're getting a good deal. So what else we got here, Hill?
Well, we got Sword of the Animist, and this one's I kind of have as an honorable mention. So Sword of the Animist is an artifact for two colorless. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. It's an equipment, legendary at that. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library, and it equips for a cost of 2. So what I've always liked about this card is that you don't have to connect. A lot of the swords, if you will, you have to connect to get the ability to trigger. With Sword of the Animist, you just got to swing, and you're getting value. It's replacing itself with a land the very first time you go swinging. Mm-hmm. Now, it's originally from Origins. I think it's originally from Origins. And the copy we're going to be talking about today is the Origins copy. Now, the reason it's played in over 28,000 decks currently, and obviously, as you can imagine, it works well with landfall. It's getting you landfall triggers every time you attack with a creature that's equipped with this. However, it's had a lot of printings. It's had about 5 or 6 printings overall, I believe. So there's a fair supply out there. Now, currently, though, the Origins copy is still the cheapest copy. So the reason I pick that is I have a feeling that if it gets to dodge a reprint from here on out for a little while, we're going to see that Origins price catch up to all the others, which are elevated a good $1 or $2 above this. So currently, MTG Goldfish market price is $6.94 with a mid of $6.84. So not much difference there. Card Kingdom has only 2 available at $9.99. Star City Games at a price of $7.99 is out of stock on all near mint versions. Channel Fireball, this is interesting, has them 3 in stock at $5.99. Not a bad deal, except once again, unless you're buying a lot of other stuff from, maybe those Rumming Up Excavators or Wayward Sword Tooths, I can't remember one we were talking about earlier that had a good price on it, then maybe you go in together with those to offset that shipping cost. Mm-hmm. Now, TCG, though, has bulk as low as $5.50, so even better than Channel Fireball, but there's not many copies available. And there's about 22 copies on eBay, but only 3 of them under $8. So, and across all the major online sellers, we have less than 200 copies available of the Origins version. Again, honorable mention because there are other versions or other printings of this card. I do expect, though, this card to continue its trend of climbing upward unless it sees a reprint in Commander Legends, which I personally think there's a decent chance of that. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel they see this as enough of a staple and a potential reprint target, but who knows? I can't recall if I had a reprint in Mystery Boosters or something this year. Which,
no,
not
it
that
didn't.
that's not that that's
reprinted in Commander 17.
Well, that was 3 years ago. So.
Which is 3 years ago and probably ripe for the pickings.
Yeah. Now, this next card, I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of this cycle in general. We've talked about them on the show before for lots of reasons. And one of those is because it's a lot less likely of a reprint target because of the design of the card. Tell us about that one.
So Thematic Compass is an artifact for 2 colorless mana. You pay 3 and tap it, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. At the beginning of your end step, you control 7 or more lands, transform Thematic Compass. And I believe the other side of it, I don't have it up here.
It's like a Maze of Ith.
A Maze of Ith, yeah.
Maze of Ith that also, I think, taps for any color mana.
Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah. So from Ixalan, so again, another one of these under-opened sets. It is played in 13,000 decks, so it just does make that that mark of being in 10,000 decks for it to be a good spec in a wide variety of decks. MTG Goldfish has a market of $3.61 and a mid of $3.17, which again is a good indicator because the mid has not caught up to the market yet. Card Kingdom, only 8 available at near mint, $5.49. Star City Games, out of stock at $3.99. Channel Fireball, $3.99 with 8 in stock. TCG Bulk as low as $2.95, but not very many listings. eBay, 12 copies total, under 2 for $4. Less than 300 available across all major online sellers. So it's interesting. Back in May, this card was sitting around, I don't know, $2, and has since seen a 50% increase. That's pretty exceptional, considering that this is probably one of the least sought after of the flip cycle lands.
Yeah, there's probably a couple little less desirable than this, but yeah. This is certainly no growing rights of Itlamok or Storm the Vault.
Certainly, but it is great in landfall themes. So while it is a little slow, it does have the virtue of scaling with the game. So flipping on first activation into a Maze of Ith that also taps for mana. I mean,
yeah,
Maze of Ith is a great card on its own. But the problem with Maze of Ith is you can't count it as a land slot in your deck because it doesn't tap for mana. This one does.
Yeah.
We talk about how good the flip cards from Ixalan Block are for EDH, and the under opening of these sets, along with decreased potential to see flip card reprints in many sets. I mean, this is a great long-term investment for sure. Any of them, even the bad ones. I mean,
when people wonder about, we say that a flip card's a lot harder to reprint, which is another reason I've been speccing so hard into the new modal dual face cards from Zendikar Rising, is if they put this into any kind of standard set, they have to then print tokens because if they're going to draft these cards, they now have to have these tokens that will allow you to have this flip card in your deck, because if you're not playing sleeved, you have to have a magic back. It gets a lot more complicated. I cannot think. Somebody comment below if you can recall in any product where they have printed outside of the set where it was originally printed in a dual face card. I can't think of a single one.
Yeah, no, I can't either. I mean, in all the Commander products that have come out, they still haven't reprinted the Duskwatch, right? Duskwatch from, what is it, Innistrad or something?
Yeah.
And I mean, that is a huge combo piece. I mean, you basically search your whole deck with like an infinite mana sink, if they haven't reprinted that and it's an uncommon, it's just tough. It's too tough to do it, especially as a one-off, just because of the way printings are done. When they take these to their printers, I work for a printer company, so I understand the process a little bit better than, a lot of people who aren't inside that process. When you get instructions from a customer to do a large print job, you want to make it as streamlined as possible, because the more times you have to flip the paper over, the longer it's going to take. You have to flip it over on the back and reprint. Now, if we were to say have one flip card in a set of 350 cards, and there's about 150 cards to a sheet, so they're printing about 2 to 2.5 sheets a piece per set, and there's only one flip card on it. That means that printer has to run it through on one side to print all the fronts of the cards. They have to run it through a second time to print off all the Magic the Gathering backs, and then they have to run it through a third time to hit one card. That's that just throws the pricing way out of whack, and Magic's not gonna, Wizards isn't going to pay the extra 20% fee it's going to cost them just to print one card. at that point it's not worth it to them. So they got to make it happen in a set where they have multiple cards on a single sheet that they're going to print like this.
So I think that kind of covers where we were as far as staples that are not necessarily thematic. They fall more so on the EDH staple as compared to a theme staple. Now some of these fall better into a theme, which is not uncommon, but they could slot into most any deck and be good in those. Now these next ones, that's not the case. However, thematically, I can definitely see these as being staples. So this first one here, go ahead.
So I wanted just to kind of a caveat to what you said there. So, technically we missed a staple category, if you will. So you have, a format staple, and then you have a theme staple, and then you have a commander staple. Like, so in talking, like, there are staple cards, and if you're running this commander, you're running this card, where you might not run it anywhere else. So these next few cards are kind of fall into that category more so than a theme category. But some could be found in themes, So these are all going to be some short-term plays. We talk a lot on the channel about long-term and, investments for down the road. These are all going to be kind of short-term investments. So get them today, sell them next week, and you make a few bucks. But they're certainly viable in the short term. In the long term, you're probably going to, if you hold on to them too long, you're probably not going to do so well. So, we should probably come up with a new format for the show here. We've got a new little segment. We'll call this one short runnings.
Quick flips, short runnings.
Yeah, short runnings. So the first one we got here.
This one I thought was kind of spicy, particularly with the commander in mind. I was not aware of this card. It's pretty strong with that commander.
So this is pretty strong in Ashaya.
So Ashaya, for those who aren't familiar, it's the new legendary mono green for 2 green and 3 colors. It's an elemental boar. Just kidding, it's not a boar. I think it's an elemental. I don't have the card in front of me, but I do know this. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, and all creatures not all non-token creatures you control are forests in addition to being creatures, which includes Ashaya. So that also means they can tap for mana. That also means they count as lands. That also means that this guy's really good with them. Tell them about it.
Yeah, so we got Timber Protector from Lorwyn. It is a 4 and a green for a Tree Folk Warrior, 4/6 power and toughness. Now, the first ability here isn't going to make a lot of difference unless you're running some sort of, Tree Folk theme in your Ashaya deck. But other Tree Folk creatures you control get +1/+1. Second ability is what matters here. Other Tree Folk and forests you control are indestructible. So, I mean, you put this guy out and Ashaya's in play. All your creatures and lands are indestructible, basically. So
take that, Armageddon.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. I'd say it's pretty good, to quote Larry David.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like a personal Avacyn for Ashaya decks, and it only costs 5 mana, which is like turn 2 in green.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe turn 3 if you want Ashaya out first.
Right. So TCG currently has this at a $6.41 market price, $9.99 at Card Kingdom. So I did look it up today, and it was $5.90 on NTG Goldfish at the market price there, and on September 2nd. I'm sorry, $5.90 on September 2nd, and as of today, it's ticked up to $7.50. So it is on the uptick. It's went up about $1.40 over the last
$1.60.
16 days, 15 days, something like that. So, as we said before, this is going to be great in a Shia decks, makes all your creatures indestructible. And again, this is a short-term play. A Shia is not going to be a top-tier commander for very long. It's going to be
a flavor of the day, probably.
It's going to be a flavor of the day, and people are going to pick this card up if they run across it. And there's going to be a run on it. So I would say pick it up here at, $7, $7.50 or so, whatever you can get it at. And in a couple of weeks, I bet this is going to jump up to $8, $9, $10. If it hits, if you make a 10 or 15% profit on this card, make your 10 or 15% and move on.
One thing to point out about it. Yeah, one thing I want to point out about this card, it is from Lorwyn. That is a much under-opened set compared to a lot of other sets. When we talk about this with Ixalan and Hour, there's no comparison between it and Lorwyn. Lorwyn was so under-opened. There was a definite lag in the game during this period. I literally didn't play during this period. I got back in briefly during Evening Tide. I left just before this set came out, like so many other players. Jumped back in after this set. There was just this huge lull. I don't know what it was about that year. It was about a year's time, but come and think of it, that was right around the time of the recession and the crash and so I guess that probably was a lot to do with it there. So we may have a precursor or something to look back to as a possible model for what we're going through now to a degree with openings, because I've been hearing there's actually been a lot less openings of these most recent this year's sets, barring perhaps Theros, than in previous years and sets. I don't know. That is pure speculation. I don't have numbers to support anything like that.
Sure. I don't either, but I've heard the same sentiment, and I kind of feel the same way as well. Just based on going to local Walmart and seeing all of the packs still just kind of sitting there. And
then we're not drafting. We're not drafting in person, and that's a lot of cards not getting injected into the market, like a ton. So, and that's where I think a lot of cracking happened. A lot of booster opening occurred. So,
yeah, sure,
could be interesting. I don't know. It's a weird year because you couple that with all these new set boosters and collector boosters, and you just don't know which way the sun's going to rise.
So another card we got here for Ashaya is now this one I'm on the fence about. I really do think that this is going to be a good card for Ashaya. I think it's played in more than just Ashaya decks. So this is more of a themed staple, I think. I don't know that we're going to see this reprinted anytime soon. I don't know if it was reprinted in Mystery Boosters. I can't remember if it was or not.
I'll look it up while you tell everyone about it. Go ahead and tell them what the card is.
Patron of the Orochi. It's a 6 and 2 green for a 7/7 legendary spirit with Snake Offering. So those of you who don't know what Snake Offering is, you may play this card anytime you could play an instant by sacrificing a snake and paying the difference in mana cost between this and the sacrificed snake.
Oh no, not Steve.
Yeah, mana cost includes color. So yeah, sure, sack a Steve. Now this thing costs you 5 and a green instead of 6 and 2 green. So pretty sweet for 6 mana 7/7 if you got a Steve on board. But the ability that really matters here is the tap it to untap all forests and all green creatures. Play this ability only once each turn. So with a Shy in play, of course, it's going to untap all your creatures and forests, and lands.
Yeah, so I could see this definitely be played in a deck that runs a lot of mana dorks. Just so you can ramp up quickly, then whether you have a Shia out or not, that you're still going to be getting that ramp from the dorks that'll also later become forests. So I could see that being a viable play there. And I could also see being able to untap all forests and all green creatures. I know it says play this ability on once each turn, but I feel
Yeah.
like there's a way to break that by making copies, but it would probably require getting blue into play as well.
Sure.
I'm not sure. There's a card that's at the back of my mind right now trying to come forward that says if you tap with this enchantment on, you can make a copy of the enchanted creature, but I don't know if that's a thing or not. So we'll just keep going.
Yeah. Either way. Now, with current Ashai decks listed, and there aren't many of them because it is a new card, but it's played in 40% of them. Again, not much movement recently, but it has been holding steady.
Oh, wait. What was I thinking? Oh, it's green creatures. Never mind.
Okay. It has been holding steady for a very long time at this point. So currently you can get them at a low bulk price on TCG, $7 near mint. Card Kingdom, interestingly enough, is sold out at $8.99 of all copies of near mint. And they don't have any, light play, heavy play, damage, any. They don't have any versions of this in stock. Again, short-term play on this one. Buy them up around $7, sell them at, 8, 9, 10. You're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good there. So we got a couple more here. You want to?
Yeah, this one I'm actually a big fan of. This is a Soul Sister favorite here. Auriok Champion, 2 white for a 1/1 human cleric with protection from black and red, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. So it's an all-around solid card. I run it in several decks, life gain decks, go wide decks. It's already I wouldn't say a staple, but a good card. In fact, we looked it up. We were a little surprised at the number of decks that it isn't played in, and that it's only currently seeing play in about a little over 2,200 decks, which is a pretty small number. Mm-hmm. That honestly surprised me a lot. And here's why, and I could be wrong, but I'm just, this is spur of the moment comparison here and how we do, getting in behind the minds of how we do this. I'm going to look up Soul Warden, another very similar card. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to see how many decks that one's played in. If I could get it to go. There we go. Yeah, so Soul Warden is running over 10,000 decks. So if you know, Soul Warden's just a 1/1 for 1 white with the 1 ability, it's Human Cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. So another white mana, you get the pro-red, pro-black state attacked onto that to a Human Cleric. Very good card. Currently, we're looking at this for the new Aura, the Skyclave Hierophant, I believe he's called. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember the exacts on him. I believe he's a Human Cleric for a black and a white and 2 colorless. I believe he's a 3/3 body. I don't have him in front of me. This is from memory. And then whenever I think he's lifelink also. And whenever a cleric you control dies, you can return a cleric with lower CMC from your graveyard to the battlefield. Is that correct? Is that how?
Yeah, it's whenever Aura or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric card with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a core cleric 3/3 for 2, a white and a black.
Yeah. So this is kind of like, could be a cleric build around aristocrat. So clericocrats. Is that a thing? It will be. So this would be an excellent include for that. Now, it hasn't seen much movement for a little while. Its last printing was in Iconic Masters, so that was 2017. Mm-hmm. Now, it's currently at a TCG market of $750. And Card Kingdom does have 8 available, but at $9.99. And there's a low number of bulk listings, and the lowest bulk on TCG is $8.99. So with this one, the trick is you're going to want to try and pick it up and like tack it on to other purchases you make. And now we didn't check Channel Fireball in this one. You may be able to, as we saw earlier on, it was sitting at some lower prices than a lot of the others. And if you can get bulk at a lower price, say $6.99 on this Auriok Champion over Channel Fireball, that could be a really good pickup. Now, it remains to be seen if Aura's going to take off or Clerics is going to take off, but because we also know that next year we're going to see the Forgotten Realms Dungeons and Dragons set, I can pretty much guarantee we're going to see some interesting clerics come out of that. And this is a very good cleric that is currently underplayed in my humble opinion.
Yeah, so Auriok Champion is sold out at $8.99 at Channel Fireball.
There we go. So yeah. See if you can pick these up at a good price. I think right now, if you get under $7, it's a pull the trigger. Beyond that, maybe wait and see. I'm not sure, because it's I say it's kind of niche, but it fits into a lot of themes. Like this is very much fits into an aristocrat theme. It also fits into a go wide theme. Like you're running Reese the Redeemed or something like that. Having a pro-black, pro-red creature sometimes means you just shut down one opponent from attacking you. And then getting anytime a creature enters the battlefield under anyone's control gain a life, that can be a lot of life gain really quick.
Yeah, for sure. So we got one more card here, and this is going to be our uncommonly good spec of the show. Again, with the cleric theme. And I've been on this ever since I saw Aura spoiled, because this goes back to my stomping grounds here, so to speak, or my wooded foothills, maybe. Anyway, Starlit Sanctum out of Onslaught. It's a land. It taps for a colorless mana, but it has a couple of sweet cleric abilities on it. The first one is you pay a white, tap it, sack a cleric, and you gain life equal to its toughness. Pay a black, sack a cleric, and target player loses life equal to that cleric's power. So in a cleric deck, this card is just bonkers. Definitely the only land you give 2 cents about running for sure in a cleric deck outside of your color needs.
Well, a neat thing about this is we did talk about clericocrats.
Mm-hmm.
And this plays right into that. Sack a cleric, gain life equal to its toughness, or sack a cleric, target player loses life equal to that cleric's power. So it kind of just plays into what you're already going to want to do, which is sacrificing your creatures for value. Mm-hmm. There's a new, I believe there's a new Fleshbag Marauder effect that's on a cleric. So he's a 3/1, I believe. So you could drop him in, 4 sacks, sack him to Starlit Sanctum, get your triggers for aristocrats, and then deal additional 3 damage to another player.
Right.
That's a lot of value for what would be 4 mana at that point.
Yeah, sure. And not sure, this also is going to be a long shot too, right? So it's uncommonly good long shot. But no near mint copies on Card Kingdom or Channel Fireball. TCG has plenty for as low as 50 cents, but again, you're going to want to tack these on to other orders because there's shipping costs involved on most of them. It's just a good cleric card. I mean, it's just too good. I don't think we're going to see much more than 70 cents on this card, but if you can pick enough of them up at 50 cents and they bump up to 70, 75 cents, well, I mean,
one thing I want to note about
for every 5 of them you get. So
I can't think of a set. The last time I could think of a set that did not have a cleric in it. I mean, that is a common creature type or subtype.
There's usually one at least. And
this is from Onslaught. This is old school frame, guys. The very last block with the old school frame. Mm-hmm. There's not as many of the. There's a lot of them out there, but by comparison to modern day standards, there are not a lot of these cards out there.
Right.
So there's nothing to say that down the road, and this is a land. Lands have a unique way of becoming very powerful in Magic because they're free, if you will, lands with abilities. So I'd say just even if you're curious on long-term spec. I know we talk short-term, but I'm thinking on this one's actually kind of towards long-term as more clerics are printed. Just thinking about there being the potential to break this. Now, granted, you have to tap the land, so the ability to fully break it probably isn't there without a lot of Rube Goldberg machine kind of antics going on. However, the straight-up value you may be able to get from this card could be really good.
Also,
in long term.
Also, particularly the foil, which we don't like to talk about on this one. This is an old school foil, back when foils used to mean something. So the foil multiplier on this card is like times 26 or something. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Like we found one that was like near mint one we found, but heavily played was like $12.
Yeah,
with a crease. The near mint was $35.
Yeah, so and he's sitting in a binder from back in the day. You know, you make the choice, but I guarantee you didn't pay $35 for it when you got it.
Yeah, these old school foils, man. I have a Deserted Temple that I picked up years ago, you know, just to throw in a deck because I had Guy's Cradle in there, and I was like, oh, Deserted Temple, you know, this was before EDH was a thing.
Yeah.
So I was rather shocked to find about 2-3 years ago, and I looked at the price, and it's like $150 or something. I was like, what? I paid $1 for that card. A foil rare, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
you know, another interesting foil story. Just this week, I was, you know, I'm on a few of these Facebook pages that buy, sell, trade groups and stuff like that. And somebody was like, hey, I've got this list of cards here I want to trade for this list of cards, and one of the cards on his list to trade to someone was a foil oh my goodness, just forgot. It's the green card from M20 that got banned all over the place.
Skate shift,
the green counterspell.
The uncommon.
Yeah,
that I passed in draft.
Man,
it's the most valuable card in foil. It's the most valuable card in M20. It's ancient. It's
oh my gosh.
Now I can't think of it, but yeah, we know it. Well, maybe they don't know what we're talking about, but it's the one green instant that just does everything pretty much. If they have black or blue spell,
it's going to take me forever to look it up. But anyway, you guys probably know what I'm talking about. It's like $8, just the regular price on the card. But the foil version is like $30.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
So this is how hardcore I was. This is how hardcore I was in the draft. I knew that when I passed it.
Yeah.
Because it was like $26 at the time. Veil of Summer. The foil, yeah. The foil's been up for a while because it became a staple in Modern and Pioneer. And Pioneer I'm not even sure was a thing at that point, but a Vintage, I think. But yeah. And you know, it's Modern Legacy staple, huge card in Commander as well. And I was like, yeah, you know, it's worth a lot, but oh my God, it's gone even more. But this can't be right, really.
Yeah.
Tell me its mid is now 53. Okay, I should have grabbed it.
That's what. Okay, yeah. And that's what I was getting to. My point is, I looked at it today, and it's like $50-something. Craziness.
You know who got it? Jeff, if you're watching, you remember I passed it to you.
Yeah.
You were wise enough to grab it. I was like, I'm not in green, and I got a good deck forming here. Wasn't that good of a deck, clearly.
Yeah. So I've got one myself. And after it got banned, it just went into the foil folder, you know. I was like, okay, well, that's it for this one, you know. But apparently not.
No, because it was good, not just in Standard.
Yeah, good stuff. Man.
Well, man, I think that's about going to wrap it up for this, huh?
I think so. I don't have anything else from my end.
Now, hopefully, I'm not sure. Have you heard when the spoilers will be beginning for Commander Legends?
I have not. Well, I mean, I guess technically they've already kind of started.
Yeah, but the official and the daily rollouts. Because once those start to hit, I want us to make some predictions, not necessarily on Commander Legends, but other cards that might be older cards or different cards, not that we're aware of being in the set, that may see a bump based off what's getting spoiled. So look for that in the coming weeks, based around when the spoiler season starts.
Yeah, we're gonna be hitting Commander Legends pretty heavily since it's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited for that. All my hype has been saved up
For that
moment, because Zendikar, I'm stoked about. I've been playing Arena. I've been drafting with it, and it's been a super fun draft format. I will say,
Sealed was
awesome.
Amazing. Like I was telling my friend the other day, and those modal dual face lands are just incredible. I ran 15 lands, 15 straight up lands in my 40 card deck, and 3 modal dual face cards. And of 8 games, because I played a total of 8 games, which I went 2-1. I got mana screwed, mana flooded 0 times. It was like perfect mana every game. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And those cards, I kept a 1-land hand. I won that game. Yeah. It would have been better for me had they not countered my turn 3 play, because turn 1, I played my land. I didn't draw a land. Turn 2, I was like, oh, crud. I played a tapped land, modal dual face. Turn 3, I finally top deck a land. And I go to play the Valakut's Awakening, whatever, to flush my hand and draw new lands, and they countered it. I still won that game, but I was like, I was hoping on that so hard. But yeah, like keeping a 1-land hand like that, because really it was a 3-land hand. I could have played that, wheel effect as a land if I needed to, but I figured I'd refill my hand.
Right, makes sense.
So really good stuff.
A sneak peek into what we do after we quit. Push the stop recording button, but
pretty much. Well, let's wrap this up, guys. We appreciate y'all sitting in here with us for yet another episode, listening to our tales of drafting and EDH play, and listening to our specs and our picks on the things we've got an eye for right now.
Thanks so much for commenting, liking, and subscribing. Keep sharing our videos to your mamas, to your daddies, to your grandmas, to your granddaddies. Until next time, keep commanding the market.
That's right. Peace.